Welcome everyone, today we have a new build guide for Diablo 4. In this video, as you can see behind me, I will be using a build that doesn't require any legendaries, but of course we get even stronger with legendaries. So I'll show you guys the little bit of highlight of not using legendaries for this build, and also works wonderfully. So right away with this build, what you're going to notice is we actually have 2 imbuement, and we'll be resetting those imbuement for a lot of stacking of damage. And over here, the rotation of the skills and of course the combination is really good, especially after the nerf to the imbuement, which went from 9 seconds to 13 seconds. So one thing I do want to highlight is that our build will be using traps, and traps will deal a lot of damage. And this allows us to be a hybrid rogue. We can be a melee rogue, we can be a range rogue, and we can deal a lot of damage before enemy even touches us. So I really want to show you guys this build because a lot of my friends were saying rogue has been nerfed, and they're having a really difficult time to get the rogue going. I do think if you start with this build for the rogue, it's really good. And later on, I'll show you guys other builds with rogue that goes advanced into the legendaries. So yeah, looking at this rogue, we do a lot of good damage. The only downside is we have so many offensive spells, we don't have that many defensive spells. And we don't have unstoppable. As you saw over there, we're susceptible to crowd control. And one thing is, notice over here, once I cast my traps, I have a 30% chance, I believe, to reset my cooldowns. And this is really good. So notice here my poison trap just got resetted. What I'll do is I'll attach the entire replay to show you guys how I played as this build and also go through the skill rotations with you guys. So coming over to a character, and of course guys, yes, I do have lots of good rogue legendaries, including the Twisted Blade and also the Marksman, and I'll be making a build with those legendaries next. But first of all, I want to show you guys this build that you don't need any legendaries. So coming over to a skill tree, I'll be going with 1 point into Puncture and also its upgrades. This allows me to slow enemies and also provide vulnerability. Now it is optional to go with any of the range or melee abilities over here, but I do think Puncture is not bad for this build. Over here we'll be going with Barrage, which allows us to be a ranged rogue at will. So when we're dodging enemies and also keeping our distance, we can be a ranged rogue. And this deals a lot of damage, especially with vulnerability. We'll be going with the in-depth sight for the rogue, and this allows us to have infinite energy for a few seconds. Now I did try with combo point, I do like the burst damage with inner sight. Now moving over to the agility tree, what you can see is I do have some spare points simply because some of my gears provide me with additional points into the skills. Ideally, you just need 1 point into dash, and because I already had dash going, I went 1 point into weapon mastery. So 1 point into dash is enough over here. And this gets us to the next part. Subterfuge skills were buffed for the rogue, and I really want to make use of this. You do want to find any items that provide you with 1 skill point to poison traps, and this allows you to deal tremendous damage. So notice my poison trap deals 1670 damage over 9 seconds, and this is very powerful. Now if you look into the upgrades for the Poison Trap, you can see that Poison Trap knocks enemy down, and also Poison Trap have a 30% chance to reset any and all of your imbuement. So this is why on the next part I want to show you guys over here. I'll be perking into at least 2 imbuments, with Shadow Imbuement for the AoE damage, and also Sustain and also damage over time with Poison Imbuement. Now during the making of this video, I only have 20 skill points because I was a little short of Reynolds on this particular account, so you guys can see over here we're a little bit short. If you want to see your Reynolds, press tab and then press W to see your Reynolds. So I'm a little short on the next skill point. And what I want to show you guys is this build gets even stronger if you have the last point. So what I wanted to do is I want to perk over here out of Shadow Imbuement. I want to perk over here and also perk into the Poison Imbuement that doubles our poison damage for 30% chance. And how do you get Shadow Imbuement is that some of your items will be providing Shadow Imbuement. So let me see if I can find one over here. There's a lot of items. So yes, for example, this particular amulet will provide you with +1 rank to Shadow Imbuement. And if I put this on over my normal amulet, which I wanted to show you guys, you don't need legendaries, right? If you put this on, you can work. And all of a sudden you have 2 imbuement, and also with 21 skill points, you'll have this particular point. And this tremendously double your damage, because you have 30% chance of doubling your poison trap with over 6,000 damage. Oh, not 6,000, 1,600 damage. We also have a 30% chance of resetting all of the imbuement spells. So once you guys watch the replay, you got to see me resetting those a lot. Now briefly going over to the skill rotations for this build. Because this build focuses more on damage, you do want to keep your distance and also keep yourself, actively mobile, because you do take a lot more damage when you're stunned. So initially, I like to start with one of my imbuement. So notice over here, I start with one of my Shadow Imbuement for AoE damage. and Poison Imbuement for the sustained long-term damage. Once you start one imbuement, you can use this imbuement for 2 attacks, and then you can start other imbuement. The key is to have your Poison Trap activated after those are on cooldown. This allows you to infinitely scale with additional damage and also reset your cooldown. So here I'll be fighting enemies and let's reset my trap. And when enemies step on the poison trap, you have a 30% chance of resetting the spell. So what I'll do is I'll try to show you guys a little more over here. So notice here I started with my poison imbuement and then I start doing my shadow imbuement. And all of a sudden, after setting off the poison trap, everything gets resetted. And this allows me to have another rotation of my imbuement. And the imbuement does a lot of damage. So every time I only use one imbuement at a time. And then with the cooldowns, you pretty much reset everything after. So I go with one imbuement, and then do the other imbuement, and then do the poison trap, and then reset cooldowns, and then do this again. And this allows us to have infinite rotations and a lot of sustained damage. Now if I do get my poison imbuement, which allows me to double my poison, that's even better, right? So this build have a really high scaling. Now briefly talk about the build potential and also upgrades. For this build, because I'm going with range with barrage, I can go with marksman. Over here the legendaries, of course, I can go with this one to deal tremendous damage with a 10% chance of physical damage. And I'm not usually using twisting blade, so I won't have to worry about this. I can provide a barrier when damaging elites, and when I have a barrier, I also have increased damage against monsters when I have a barrier. So I have a lot of good legendaries. I also have increased damage because we have higher resource. I also have the skill deals more damage because we have higher resource, so those are the same. And over here we have poison trap doesn't break stealth, and this works well with stealth, so I can change my build. And over here we have agility spells and also sabotage spells gaining additional attack and also cooldowns. And over here we have free dark shot, and finally we have better penetrating shot. So I have a lot of legendaries, and I will be planning a build for you guys to show off those legendaries. Now finally coming over to the replay. This is a full replay of the build and also of the dungeon. You can see I can farm this dungeon in less than 3 minutes, and this build is very powerful. And at the start of the replay, you get to see my items, and those are the basic items I'll be using. I'm not using any legendaries, and this build is already very powerful.
work to deliver good material to fine folk at Valhalla. She says, art father's grand design. I'm Faith. Truly, I am. What to say?
If you guys haven't subscribed, it is a really good time to do so, because I'll be covering tons of Diablo 4 related topics and also videos and also guides. We'll be looking to the top meta builds, non-meta builds, leveling up, and also Paragon tricks. We're also looking to the latest events and also official updates, and also changes to different characters and also different builds in the game. So make sure you hit that subscribe button and also turn the notification on, because a lot of you who are watching the videos have not subscribed. You can see 80% of the viewers who are watching our videos have not subscribed, so make sure you subscribe to stay tuned for the latest update for Diablo 4.